Right, in this video we're going to look at the suspension on the Honda CRF250RX. So, I want to use this bike for Enduro, however, it batters me. It's just, I've rode Enduro bikes, I've got a gas CC350F, so much more comfier and plush. This is very nimble and yes, it's more exciting and like dynamic to ride, but it just beats me up, and that's, I'm thinking that's due to the suspension. So I've put the correct springs in it, and there's loads of footage on my channel of me riding it before, so I'm going to mix some of that in. Yeah, so basically we're going to go for a ride and see if changing the springs makes any difference at all to how it rides, and yeah, hopefully it's a lot better. If that doesn't work, I'm going to attempt changing the valving, maybe some race tech valves, or I might just piss about with a shim stack myself to see what I can do or not do. Yeah, so hope you enjoy. Here we go.
So that was my own fault, but I heard the guy coming and thought I'll gas it. But no damage done. No damage done. Right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Are we still there? Yep. Right then. I think that's time for a tea break. So in this footage, what I was looking for is the bike, when all the bike is going over all the bumps and ruts and dips, you want the engine RPMs to stay fairly consistent. So a good sign that your suspension isn't right is that when you're going over a lot of bumpy ground, the RPM and the revs of the engine picks up, because that means the tyre's not in contact with the ground and it's just spinning up. However, that's what it used to do, but now in this footage it almost sounds quite boring, because the bike is just tractoring through, and that rear wheel is maintaining contact with the ground because the suspension change and the thing's balanced. So the RPM is staying consistent, and that's providing me traction. And yeah, it generally just felt a hell of a lot better. Yeah, so the intention wasn't to absolutely send it. It was just to trickle along at a nice pace and just basically get a feel for how the bike's working and be really in tune to it. So yeah, here's a couple of laps. Yeah, enjoy. final verdict is, if you're thinking about doing your springs on your bike, things you can expect. When I looked at the weight chart and everything for the spring rate, the spring on the front was actually softer. So in my head, I thought softer spring, it must feel softer, more plush. The rear shock spring, I needed a harder one. And yeah, so what it's done is it's not made the bike softer or more plush, but it's made it more balanced. And you can feel that when you're going over the whoops and like rough terrain, it really does like pivot back and forward, as it's supposed to. Yeah, and it's allowing the suspension to work and do what it does. So my goal is to ride enduro with it, and yeah, it was a lot better, and I think I'll ride it maybe 2 or 3 more times, and also on a motocross track, and then see how it feels then. It's definitely not my gas. It doesn't have that plush feel that I'm kind of looking for, but I think realistically I can aim for somewhere between what it is now and the gas. So yeah, putting your springs to the right setting for your weight, it's not going to make it plusher, but it does just balance the bike out, and it feels better and all the rest of it. Didn't have any issues going into corners or anything like that, and yeah, generally it's all going well, and yeah, I'll keep you updated as the riding goes on.